Good evening. My name is William Richmond. I am the State Advisor for the Technology Student Association. And this is just to be a guide for new teachers to kind of figure out how to navigate and what they really should be looking at as they are starting a TSA chapter and getting ready for the state conference, and finding out what other events we have as well. So the first thing is access to our state website. So the website is indianatsa.org. And that is the state of Indiana's website. There is another website that you'll need to be familiar with, and that is the national TSA website, which is tsaweb.org. Outside of just information, this is where you'll go to get a more overview of TSA as a whole. But really the big area is clicking on this Join Login button. So when you click on this Join Login button, it won't look like this. It will look something like this instead. You'll put in your information to log in. If you don't have an account, follow this information here to request a login. And then once you're in there, you can go through the system, get your students registered, choose what level of membership you want to register as. And for those levels of membership, you can always go back to the TSA website, and up here in membership, go down to affiliation and dues, and there are 3 different levels. You have red, white, and blue. All 3 of those have different numbers of students that you can register, and there is a national fee. We in the state of Indiana do not charge any additional state dues. So to be in TSA, Indiana doesn't charge anything on top of what national TSA already charges. Excuse me. So, no, it's not. So the other thing is, once you're logged in and you have an account, there's this tab here called Total TSA. And you won't be able to access that until you've officially affiliated. So you've hit the submit membership, you've paid the invoice to National TSA. Once you're there, of course it's going to make me log back in. 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. So you'll hit this Total TSA tab, and that's going to bring you to different options. This is one that will be familiar under your chapter, which is competitions high school or competitions middle school, depending if you're a high school or middle school. But when you click in there, there's a general rules download and then a competitive events guide. So you can individually download each event separately in a zip file, or you can download one giant book and then just print specific pages, which is what I typically do for the competition rules. So we'll come back to this. So from the Indiana TSA website, once you're officially a chapter, there's things that you can participate within at the state level. So first off, on our homepage, we have our main calendar, which has all the events for the year. That includes state officer items too. So like if you have a student who wants to apply to be a state officer, then the information of when those packets are due, or when interviews are, or what the officers have to participate in, hence February 8th, for example, this state officers only option. So there's different items there. So up here underneath the state events, this is where you can come to find information about our state conference and fall leadership conference, as well as our t-shirt pen design, which is annual because we have a new t-shirt for the state conference and pen for nationals every year. And we'll come to that in just a minute. But as a new teacher, I would recommend going to this resources and forms area. This chapter advisor handbook is a good download. I would take a look at it. It kind of lays out what are the positions that you need to elect within your chapter as far as students. And then kind of a guideline. It's not like you have to do it this way, but like it may suggest to hold your first call-out meeting in August, or what kind of a monthly plan of things you could do as a chapter. There's other things in there like different fundraiser ideas and other things that the chapter can do as well. The sample chapter bylaws, since we are a nonprofit organization, every chapter needs to have a set of bylaws. You do not need to start from scratch. When I did it for my chapter, I downloaded this, and then I just changed anywhere where it said a different school. I changed it to Belmont, or and then changed my name or changed to whatever the different addresses were. Or you just make simple changes like that, and then do a quick vote with your officers, your student officers, to approve the bylaws, and then you're good to go. So, for example, let's take a look at this retired competitions. These are no longer offered at the national level or state level, but it gives you an idea of what a rubric and instructions look like. So let's take a look at this 3D animation, for example. So all the competitions will have an overview, have eligibility, time limits. All of them look exactly like this with different instructions. So a very keynote thing that students need to be aware of and teachers need to be aware of is following the rules to a T. Because as we go down further, then there's a rubric, and that rubric is used. And there's go, no-go specifications. So there are very specific things, whereas if they break a rule, either A, they'll lose points for breaking that rule, or it could end up in a disqualification. So make sure to follow those. Now, this is where it comes into play at state conference. So national conference, you want to follow exactly what these say, because that's nationals policies. At the state level, we have some minor modifications. So to know those, from the TSA website, from our Indiana TSA website, under state events, go state conference. And there is a competitive events list. When you click on that, it's going to open an Excel document. And within that Excel document, in column A, are all the events that we offer at the state level. So unfortunately, we do not offer all the events that national can. We just don't have the size, scope, and scale, and the budget that they do in order to do that. So right now, these are the events that we offer. Our eligibilities may be a little bit different, so make sure you follow ours. And then here, we'll list you back to the national theme if there's a theme for that competition. So for example, architectural design a few years ago was designing a lodge for like park rangers at a national park. So you have to make sure you're designing to whatever the theme is for the year. And then we have times, as well as this column over here, which is pretty important. Column S gives you the Indiana modifications to national regulations. So you want to take this document that you pull out of the total TSA, and if there's something in there, you just want to take a review and then go back to here and review and see if there's any change that we have suggested. So for example, it may say audio podcasting at the national level, you need to submit your podcast on a flash drive that you turn in at check-in. Whereas our rules would say the podcast is submitted electronically, so you would just upload it to a website, and we have a link for that. So make sure you pay attention to those things. These columns here, G, H, and J, those let you know from the student perspective or teacher how much work is going to be done at the event or before the event. So if it says pre-conference only, there's still prep work most likely that needs to be done, like putting together a toolbox or something, but you're not designing an entire project, a portfolio, items like that. So all the work would happen, pre-conference only is only before the conference. So for example, essays on technology, you would write that, you would upload it, and then by the time you show up at the conference, that's it. Pre-conference and on-site means there's going to be work beforehand and at the conference at Purdue. And then on-site would mean only the work will all be done at Purdue. Now, like I said, there might be some prep work prior to coming, like building a toolbox or something. Rows K through P, or columns K through P, give a layout of what students can expect are going to have to be delivered. So for architectural design, they're going to have to create a digital portfolio, a model as well as some sort of presentation or interview at the conference. Whereas CAD architecture is an on-site only, so they're going to bring a laptop. They'll have to have some sort of CAD modeling software in order to do this. And it's just a timed competition that they'll submit at the end of that time. So each of those can kind of give you an idea of what type of work the student is going to do or what materials they may need. So for example, over here, we'll need to bring computer with CAD software for live competition. So just make sure you pay attention to those as kids are signing up for these events. If we scroll over a little bit to the right in the spreadsheet as well, there's a past winners link for some of these, and it will show you some pictures or PDFs of different students who have won in the past, just to give you an idea of like what level we're looking for at minimum if they're looking at trying to get like a first place award. All right. And this is pretty well set. There's some minor modifications that might happen, but these times are pretty self-descriptive. But black is participant only, meaning you can't have like people watching, whereas red is a drop-off time. Green is open viewing, so we'll open a room, we'll have some supervisors in there to ensure that people aren't going to like mess with other people's projects. But it's an opportunity to kind of take a look at what other people are doing, and maybe a kid will see a competition they're interested in doing the following year. And then blue is the interview time slots. All right, so back to the state conference website. The best way to prepare is take a look at this 2024 advisor guide and take a look at this conference prep checklist. So this prep checklist is going to show you what you should be doing each month, roughly, to kind of get you going in the right direction in order to be ready to compete in March. This advisor guide is a little more in the weeds. So what's new for this year? We have a service scholarship fund. If you have kids who are financially not able to go, we do have some money set aside that can help cover the registration cost. But it is a 2-day event. So unless you live near Purdue, a hotel is most likely going to be needed. So we can't cover food, we can't cover the hotel. But out of that scholarship fund, we can help waive some of the registration fees. Kind of an idea of what we're doing for the year, some social events, where we're at. This has an agenda and schedule, and I would highly recommend that you check out that as well. When your kids are signing up for competitions, just keep in mind they should be taking a look at what's happening at the same time. Some events, like coding and CAD engineering and architecture, last for the full, 4 to 6 o'clock, so 2 hours straight. So it'd be very hard for them to do both events because they would have to go back and forth, and they're going to kind of hurt their partner by doing that. Whereas Future Tech Teacher is a single person event, maybe takes like 10 minutes to do a presentation. If they're doing coding, they could start out doing coding. We would work with the judges to let them leave, go do a Future Tech Teacher, and come back. At nationals, that is much more difficult to do. So just to give you a heads up on that. But take a look at this state conference advisor guide. That's really going to be the most helpful in preparing for the state conference, as far as how we do awards, how we do t-shirts, what do you need to register, where do we stay, and then step-by-step conference registration guidelines. So hopefully this video is helpful. If you have any questions about getting ready for the state conference, you can always email me at stateadvisor@indianatsa.org, or hit the contact us button on the website. But let us know. If you need help, we'll be glad to help you. And have a good evening.